Welcome to Skirmish Mode, the third and final multiplayer mode for Battalion Wars 2 Online. In Skirmish Mode, both players have the same battalion of respawning units and they have to destroy each other in order to get more points than the other player. Whoever has more points when the timer runs out is the winner. Now, since in Skirmish Mode both players have the exact same battalion as the other player, I can't exactly say that any of these maps are slanted in a particular player's favor. But I do have a couple of issues with Skirmish Mode in general, but we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. For now, we've got Melee, the first of the two maps to feature the Iron Legion in Skirmish Mode. Sadly, no Legion battle station, but we do have their heavy tank. On this map, both players get a heavy tank, some bazooka veterans, some grunts, and a flame veteran. The map is basically just a straight line with both players at either end, so it's very much the final destination of Battalion Wars 2, which is funny because the map is called Melee. So, the map has a bit of an incline in the center. You'll want to rush to get to that incline as soon as possible because having a height advantage is very useful because you can actually shoot at the enemy's heavy tank and other units at long range if you're good at aiming without locking on, which is an important skill to have. Now, there are a couple of point bonuses you can get in Skirmish Mode, aside from just destroying enemies. If you destroy the enemy player, you get 10 points. If you draw First Blood, you get an additional 25 points. And if there were any facilities on this map, capturing an enemy's facility would net you 100 bonus points, in addition to having the facility. Just kind of a way to rub it in the other guy's face. Now, this map only has a 4-minute timer, so it's going to go by very quickly. You'll notice that there are two spawn points for the enemy here. One is the factory, which makes the heavy tanks, and the other is the barracks, which makes all of the infantry units. For some reason, in Skirmish Mode, they decided to have, like, in Assault Mode, all of the units spawn at the same place, but there are different spawn points for the different unit types in Skirmish Mode, which doesn't make much sense. If it were possible to capture the enemy factory on this map, it would make more sense to have a different spawn point, but you can't do that. You can't capture any of the starting facilities. In later maps, we'll see more facilities. In these first two maps, there are no facilities, unfortunately. But it feels really weird to have units spawning at different places on the map, but I think for this map it actually works out really nicely because the heavy tanks spawn closer to the center, and I believe that helps prevent spawn camping. And there are a couple of auto guns by your barracks to prevent spawn camping, but I don't see how that would help. The auto guns can be destroyed for an additional 5 points, which isn't a whole lot. I mean, they're static guns. Why would you reward the player for destroying them? Now, as I said, both players are pretty much even in this map, except for one tiny little thing which doesn't really affect much, in my opinion, now that I think about it. Notice that behind the Legion barracks, the place is on fire. If you go behind there, you'll get burned to death. Now, the Solar Empire player's barracks is not on fire, so they can hide behind it if they want to and not take any damage. This doesn't really affect a whole lot, or at least it doesn't sound like it would. And this is also another time when the fact that the heavy tank spawns closer to the center of the map is very helpful. Anyhow, one thing that I don't like about Skirmish Mode is that it seems to want to encourage you to play defensively, and not in this map in particular, but in the next map, it's going to be very apparent that they want you to play defensively, or at least that's how it ends up being. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed most of these maps. They don't exactly make the best decisions 100% of the time. So yeah, I could sit here for the next 30 seconds and win, because I'm ahead, so I'll just sit here where I have auto gun defenses to give me an extra boost in firepower. But still, I like this map. It's pretty good. Now, if only the rest of the Skirmish maps were just as good. There's a couple of really nice ones, but The second map that we're going to look at today is not very good. Anyhow. Another Legion victory. Total conquest is at hand, except you're just going to get shot by a giant laser anyway. Look at them doing those little dances. It's the Iron Legion and they're still doing that little dance whenever they win. So as you can tell, I've played Skirmish a lot more than I have Assault and Co-op mode. I have like 230 wins. And you actually do have a little screen displaying how many units you destroyed on both sides. Anyhow, Exchange of Fire is up next. It's the only Navy map in Battalion Wars 2's Skirmish mode. And I gotta say, it's a pretty badly designed map. I mean, I'm probably at an advantage here because the enemy seems to only have one loss on their record so far, but still. So our battalion this time around consists of a dreadnought, some submarines, a frigate, and a bomber. Now, this map actually has a side objective. Both sides have 2 naval guns that can be destroyed. Destroying them is worth 200 points, so it seems like a pretty hefty reward that might be tempting to go after. However, the naval guns can fight back, and this is what kills the map for me. The fact that the naval guns can fight back and do a pretty good amount of damage means that you can just sit in front of them and defend for the full, what is it, 8 minutes. This map lasts 8 minutes, and the ideal way to do it is to score some initial points somehow, and then just sit in front of the naval guns forever. Now I'm going to take my dreadnought and go shoot down an RPG tower. That's another thing. There's anti-air towers and RPG towers that are meant to, I don't know, defend the naval guns better. I don't even know where to start with this map. Okay, the thing is that the bomber is probably the best way to take down the naval guns, except you can just sit in front of the naval guns with your frigate and shoot them out of the sky. So you're probably thinking, well, why don't we take out the enemy's frigate? Well, there's only one way to do that, with your dreadnought. Speaking of the dreadnought, why did they bother giving the Western Frontier a dreadnought for this one level? I mean, you had the Solar Empire, although they don't have a bomber. So as you can see, we just shot down the enemy's bomber. A thing about this map is that I've actually seen people sneak past the frigate defenses and just bomb the naval guns very quickly. I guess if you rushed in with your bombers several times, then you would eventually destroy the naval guns and profit. Because like the naval gun is worth 200 and the bomber is only worth about 40, so you'd have like 5 chances before you wind up with a deficit in points. The thing is, the only real way to destroy the frigate is with the dreadnought, and I'm looking at the map here to see my enemy coming from a mile away. That's another problem too. The map is probably too big. And it's supposed to be a Navy map, but about half this space isn't even going to be used. Because, as I've said, the ideal strategy is defending, and it's really unfortunate that the only Navy map in Skirmish mode turns out that way. So here they come with another bombing attempt, trying to blow up the dreadnought for some reason. The frigate resists bomber damage, and it resists submarine damage, so it's basically invincible to every conceivable threat on this map, as long as it stays near the naval guns. Because the naval guns will just shoot at the dreadnought if it tries to get close, which the enemy is going to be forced into attempting because they can't just sit, they're behind in points. They're actually coming at me with their Navy units this time. I don't see why the dreadnought couldn't have been like 2 battleships or something. I mean, that wouldn't help against the naval guns. The naval guns are just, like, the biggest problem here. You'd think you could sneak in with your submarine, but they don't do very much to the frigate. They can't hit the naval guns because they're submarines. It's just a poorly thought out map, in my opinion. Even though it's technically fair, it's still going to wind up being boring once you figure out the ideal strategy. So I guess you have to play with a house rule, I guess. Don't attack the naval guns ever, just pretend they're not there. That... I don't think that would help very much. It was worth a shot. I'll give this guy credit. He did manage to take down one of both, I think both of my naval guns down to half health. So there's 4 minutes left on the clock and nothing else to talk about. I love this map, don't you? I really don't see why we aren't playing as the Solar Empire in this map, because the music here is the Solar Empire theme song, which is really bad for a Navy map. You could have gone with the music from Up Periscope over in the Anglo campaign. Oh look, he's gonna make another attack attempt. Let's go out with our frigate and destroy his submarines. I doubt he's going to be able to even have a chance of coming back from how much points he's lost so far. And we see the problem with depth charges against player-controlled submarines. It's really hard to hit them, because they're too quick. I manage it, though. Frigates are also pretty speedy boats. Even though the Dreadnought is the only thing capable of dealing decent damage to them, it's still possible for the frigate to evade the Dreadnought very quickly. I actually toy around with the enemy's Dreadnought later on in the map here, or the game. The frigates in this game are basically a speedboat. So I guess to deal with enemy submarines when they're controlled by a player, you have to go in front of them and intercept them from swimming past you. Yeah, this works. Or at least it was working. Wow, I actually think the naval guns can shoot at a dived submarine. So much for the submarine being safe. Maybe you're supposed to, hit the naval gun with the Dreadnought while using another unit as bait for the naval gun, but then there's also going to be enemy units, and it's like... You know, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but this map just, like... it's really that bad. And here we're gonna see that I am too fast for the Dreadnought. Actually, is it even shooting at me? Well, that time it was. Once you hear them fire, just like turn 90 degrees and you'll evade the shots. Mostly. Because when the Dreadnought actually fires, it's pretty much set in stone where the thing is going to land. That was a heavy hit, though. Here we can see that there's a completely useless anti-air tower because the frigate handles anti-air so well. I actually think the frigate is a pretty overpowered unit. Their presence basically blows this map to smithereens in terms of enjoyability. Hey look, maybe he's... Oh, wait, I spoke too soon. And of course, every time enemy... I still don't get why the Navy units drop medipacks in the water like that. There's no ground units on this map. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. I don't know what purpose ground units could have served, but it probably would have... Like, if there was maybe an HQ you could capture, I think they were actually going to... Okay, voice clips in the game's data hint at the possibility that there were going to be capturable HQs, even on skirmish maps that end the game instantly. I would have liked to see that, because I don't think sitting still for 8 minutes holding a lead like this is a very good map idea. Side objectives, I like having that, but not like this. The Navy guns just really ruin exchange of fire for me. So we come out of that with a rather easy victory. Next, we'll be looking at maps with actual facilities. They have problems of their own, I guess. It depends on your definition of a problem, but we'll get to that when we get to that.